very first one. Deirdre might be considered a creator of witches, but she wasn't the mother. That person lived very far from Los Angeles, and she was more powerful than all covens combined. And killing her, well, that would come after ending the Shadow Walker Coven. That had to happen first. And hopefully before the witches spread. Deirdre, the metamorph witch, dipped a paintbrush onto a palette covered in bat's blood. She then splattered it onto the mortal's shoulders and head as she crouched, quivering in front of her on the soft grassy ground. "You were once a portrait of color, but now you are darkness," Deirdre said in a raspy voice. "All things in life require sacrifice. Do you give up your soul in exchange for the power of magic?" The woman sobbed, convulsed. But through the tears and whimpering, she managed to nod. "Yes, I give it up for magic." "Then look up at me, child," Deirdre commanded, holding the paintbrush at her shoulder. The woman wasn't a child, but she was still young. Her skin was clear and her hair shiny. But after the transformation was complete, no one would ever look at her and see beauty or health. They would see a dark witch with a thirst for pain. They'd fear her. They'd grimace at the sight of her blackened teeth and dark eyes. Children would run. Mothers would fear her. Men would reject her. She would be a true outcast, only accepted by the Shadow Walker Coven. That had been Mephora Payne's goal all along. She needed witches and warlocks to power the new Shadow Spring. That required at least 2 to 3 coven members stationed at each of the 10 anchor locations around Los Angeles. Before the incident at Spawn Ranch, Mephora had plenty of witches and wizards to fuel the new Shadow Spring. However, Mortal 7 Beaufont arrested many of Mephora's coven members. That's why she'd had to employ the metamorph witch, Deirdre, to make more witches and warlocks. When the young woman jerked her wet face of tears up to look at Deirdre, the witch smiled wickedly down at the mortal. With the paintbrush covered in bat's blood in her steady hand, the metamorph witch drew a pentagram on the mortal's forehead. Her skin instantly began smoking. The woman flew back, clasping her head as it seared with a mind-numbing burn. A scream so loud and raw ripped from the suffering mortal's mouth as she rocked with pain. Mephora grinned, remembering when she'd burned her own soul out for magic. That had been a very long time ago. She'd done it for love. Ironically, she'd never known anything remotely close to such romantic tenderness and kindness since that day. No one tells the unsuspecting and lost mortals that they will only ever feel pain once they sell their soul for magic. They only tell them that they will have power and no longer feel alone. The last part is especially true. A witch may lose her soul, but she gains the connection to the coven. For the rejected and lonely, that bond feels akin to acceptance. For many, it is the closest they have ever come to having a friend. But one should never think that a witch or a warlock can be trusted or friendly. Nothing would be farther from the truth. Mephora strode over to the cowering and crying woman still cradling her head as she crouched on the ground. She extended a wrinkled hand to her. "Come on, my queen. You're now one of us. Rise up and learn how powerful you are. Take your place inside the Shadow Walker Coven where you will do great things. There is a city out there that holds our thrones, but we can only take them if we all stand as one." The whimpering stopped at once. The woman's face was still covered in her tattered hair as she held up her head. Her skin blistered above her eyes where the pentagram had been drawn. However, when she pushed up and looked at Mephora, the brand-new witch was no longer crying. She was also no longer beautiful. Her soullessness was reflected in her dark eyes and her pale, sickly skin. In a matter of moments, she'd gone from looking human to the stuff of nightmares. The young woman blinked up at Mephora.